Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Cosmic Weavers Consulting. And tonight we're going to talk about the overall energy for November of 2020. And I'm going to give a highlight of the overall energy from what I've learned from other videos that I watch about the astrological events. Now, right off, I'll be really honest. I don't know a lot about astrology. I know a little bit. And two of the sites that I research and I reference, I will refer to, is first one is there's a YouTube channel that is by Tanya Gabriel, a wonderful lady who talks about the numerology for the upcoming week. Um, as well as the astrology, and she has some very insightful things to say week to week. So you might want to check her out sometime on her YouTube channel. And I cite her source sometimes. And the other person that I would recommend viewing on YouTube is a lady named Colleen Lemma. I have been faithfully watching her videos for the last 5 years. And I find that she's very accurate in her astrological reading, and then she does tarot readings as well. You want to check that site out sometime, that would be great. Now, I am trying to promote myself, but my focus is on tarot. That's what I do. And I've been doing it for 30 years. And some friends of mine have really appreciated my services as well as my clients. And I continue to offer these services, tarot readings. And just recently, I have offered my services in a business capacity. And so, if you'd like to check that out, you can go to my website at www.theweaverstarot.com. It's all one word, you know. And you can book a reading with me very easily. If you choose to text me a message, please say what your intent is. Like if you're interested in getting a reading and ask me some questions, don't be afraid. But if you just say hi and I don't know you, I might not respond. I'm a little bit shy like that. um, so I want to also say that I apologize for last week's reading. Apparently, not all of it got uploaded. I'm not sure what happened there. I think my computer doesn't really have the capacity to handle that. So I am looking at other avenues. So if you be patient with me and understanding, I would really appreciate that. Um, so here, the Weavers, Cosmic Weavers Consulting, if you happen to like my videos, would you please press like and subscribe and leave any comments below. Feel free to say anything, any suggestions you might have, any questions you might have that I might be able to answer. I would be glad to do that for you. Okay, so let's just get on with some highlights in November. Um, Now, I don't usually channel this way, but every now and then it does come like this. What happened to me earlier today, after viewing some segments from Tanya Gabriel and Colleen Lemma, Spirit came forth and gave me some messages, and some of them are rather bold. So hang in there with me. So I'm going to go ahead and just read what I was compelled by Spirit to write. Okay. And then after that, I will go into a reading for the overall energy for the month. Okay. So November. It is about balancing ourselves between feminine energies and masculine energies that take charge energy. At the same time, we were balancing ebb and flow within us, our creative energies, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we interpret what we feel, what we do with our feelings. All of that is getting restructured within ourselves, within our psyche. The way we are doing things is different than the way we've operated in the past. This is all part of the purging, transformative energies that's been going on for the last several months. Um, January 2020 has been a very significant month, as you know, is the advent of COVID. Um, as Tanya Gabriel had pointed out in a video in January of 2020, she spoke about the Capricorn stellium. Um, it's very, very important. Now, I don't know technically what the word stellium is. It's the way certain planets are configured in alignment with each other at what degrees and so forth. But the gist of it is this particular Capricorn Jupiter stellium that occurred in January 2020 has not occurred. The last time it occurred was somewhere in the late 1200s, early 1300s. Whenever it was Martin Luther, who was the head of the Protestant movement, who formed this movement in Habsburg. And it was a movement away from the Catholic Church because it was tired of the dominance and control issues, executed by the Catholic Church. And this isn't really about religion. This is just about institutions and the control the institutions had over the last couple thousand years. The Catholic Church had a very strong influence in the early Renaissance history. Beginning in 900 AD, a nobility was formed through the blessing of the Catholic Church. The Holy Roman Emperor of the day was someone who was blessed by the Catholic Church and who also reportedly has a lineage genetically through the House of Anjou and other noble houses, prominent noble houses that go to the lineage of Jesus and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about whether or not Jesus had children, but the facts is demonstrated. If you really read history, whether it's true or not, this was an assumption of the day. Okay, so the Holy Roman Emperor ruled the world, and at one point it was England, Germany, France, Italy, and then it grew. They went into Israel, maybe into Morocco, and up eastward through Europe into Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia. And, by the time we get to the 1300s, the Holy Roman Empire was pretty established. Okay. And people that day were getting kind of fed up with tithing, Oftentimes people that worked the land, that were farmers, were very poor and had very little to give to tithe to the church. So, and meanwhile, these noble families were getting wealthier and wealthier, So this dominance and control by the institution of the day, i.e. the Catholic Church, was getting a lot of attention, and not positive attention. And so there was birthed the Protestant movement headed up by Martin Luther. And this was actually in Germany, Habsburg or Austria, I forget which, it might have been Austria. And so then this new movement was now a split away from the dominance of the Catholic Church. And while the empire continued to grow, and even to the day of Spain, Columbus coming to America, But by this time, we had Quakers, and then we had uh, the Plymouth people, we've had the Mennonites, we've had all these different groups of people from different dominions, but really largely as a result of what Martin Luther did in the day. So that's a synopsis of what happened at the last Capricorn, Jupiter, whatever stellium that now occurred again in January. And with that, we had the advent of the COVID. So the COVID has become a great symbol of inspection, great inspection, looking at political situations outside, looking within. The whole situation of wearing masks is a very personal issue, and how to, operate in the context of the larger circle, people telling us how to behave and operate in the COVID situation, and feeling isolated, on lockdown, and so forth, has caused people to go within and to really examine the prevailing institution, the social media, news in general, become very, very critical of what's going on, and thoughtful, and even to some extent rebellious. Lots of energy been going on since January, and it continues all through November. December is going to be a lighter month, but I'm starting to feel like November is really a culminating month. And here we have the elections coming up, which is a really big deal. Um, you know, uh, People are learning things about Biden. People are learning things about Trump. There are people that have had a very adverse feeling against Trump are now starting to feel like they're seeing things they haven't seen before. And some people on social media actually are even saying Trump is working for the light. And I was really blown away by that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So you know what? I went inside and I really looked and I really watched from a different perspective about his behavior, how he is, and how he's presented on camera, and how he's being interviewed by 60 Minutes and different people, and some of the things that he's done over the during his last 4 years. And there are things that he has done that no other presidents have ever done. And I don't want to get into that, you know. And then on the other hand, we see Biden, he represents the Democrat Party. And, but yet we're thinking he just might be the knight in shining armor, So there's the villain and then there's a hero. And there's that paradigm to deal with. And I have to watch myself not to get caught up in any kind of thinking in paradigm that reflects that victimizer mentality, that, oh my God, you got to rescue us mentality. I think things are way too complicated anymore. Things have gotten so complicated that there's nothing to do but take ownership of our own power in a good way, to love ourselves like we never loved ourselves before, to think for ourselves like we've never thought about ourselves before, to think outside of the box like maybe we've never had to do before. I mean, we're doing a lot of things now that we have never done before, and we're just going to have to keep plowing through it. It's the same way in this new paradigm of embracing our individuality, of honoring our intuition, of taking action plans that we've never considered taking before, and doing it in a way that is diplomatic, and that in some ways, in a lot of ways, satisfies all the contingencies without creating more drama and problems. And that's where we're at. And as a whole, from what I've been able to read through my tarot readings over the last couple months, Spirit has been indicating that we as a common people, not the government, you know, not any institution out there, nothing like that. It's what we are doing individually that feeds into a larger consciousness that's setting the momentum as we enter into the Aquarian age. That's having a huge deal. It's a very, very big deal. We may not feel like we're empowered in the moment as we're struggling to shift our paradigms, to reevaluate our values, to sort of shift up our life, to feel more satisfied, more comfortable. And we might have to have been made sacrifices that we've not wanted to do. But in the longer run, we might feel more satisfied. And so we might be feeling like, oh, what importance am I having in this world? But you are having a huge, huge importance by being true to yourself. And when you open up to yourself as you really are, the good and the bad and all of it, and everything in between, and just make your day, get those eggs sunny side up, whatever it takes, make it right with yourself and others on an individual level. That energy feeds a collective whole, and that is setting a whole new stage as we enter the Aquarius age. A big deal. I can't emphasize it enough. Okay, so we are restructuring our belief systems over many lifetimes. We have pivoted around paradigms or themes of power and control, dominance, victim, victimizer. As long as there's an institution out there telling us what to do, we're stuck. We're in conflict. It is I, as an individual, in conflict with an institution. That is changing now. Because if we're dealing with, and believe me, I've been working on it for years, shedding off this victim consciousness. Okay, we all have a personal story around it. We have a personal story, we have a family story, we have a genealogical story, we have stories that's stored in our DNA. Some of us are Black, where we're in African American cultures, where our grandfathers were slaves, okay? And we've got that in our genes. And so we've got a lot to work through. And some of us have been slave owners. And we've got that to work through out of our genetic makeup. A lot of shifting and changing going on here. And believe me, we're getting a lot of help from our spirit guides, our ancestors. It's all about, it is, we are all coming to the end of a karmic cycle. There's no bad guy. There's no good guy anymore. We are just all in this together as equal people. Black lives matter. They do matter. We have a lot to learn from them. A lot about victimizer energy. Some of the best problem solvers have been some of my Black African American friends. Man, they're amazing because they're shifting that DNA. They've been shifting it generation to generation. Um, some of the most creative people I know are Black people, very creative, very solution oriented. They're very down to earth, very real. We get it done, action oriented, very understanding and very compassionate. So it really is about changing these energies. We all have this victimizer, victim consciousness floating around in our DNA, and we are shifting it. We don't have a choice anymore. Like it or not, here we are. So we're changing it on every single level, even how we do business. How are you going to be exchanging energies in the future? That is going to change dramatically. Okay. So finances and resources. It is a theme of this month with the Venus and so here we are in Scorpio season. There's a Tauran influence in it there's a Uranus aspect to it. Pluto energies are involved, Taurus. So there's something around November 13th. It's a big deal. Again, Tanya Gabriella talks about this in some depth here. Numerologically, the number adds up to 6. You know, it's the Star of David. I'm going to draw it for you. As above, so below. It's the Star of David. It's also three-dimensionally, Mr. Merkaba. So this is, as above. So below. It's the Star of David. It's 6 points. And then if you look at it 3D, it's like 6 times, I don't know how many points, beyond infinity. And what this has to do, it has to do with healing on the DNA level. But within our DNAs are all our stories, but they're not just our stories. Some of that DNA belongs to your mom and dad. They belong to your grandparents. They belong to your forefathers. And so we're changing all of that right now. We're bringing the good karma forward, and we're just going to let all that bad karma slough off. It's that time. That's what the Merkaba deals with in the month of November. And another point that Gabrielle makes, this is very important, is that, again, there's another important stellium that occurs mid-November. And this stellium, this particular one, hasn't happened for like 4,000 years. So you bet it's an important month. This is right after the election. So I'm kind of going all over the place. But anyway, that's my take on everything I've read about November. It's a very big deal. So the other thing you need to understand about it is we change something individually. We're not only changing it for ourselves, but we're changing it 7 generations forward and 7 generations backwards. I can't emphasize that enough. The power of the individual. And perhaps this is the power that we all knew, is that, being human beings and having a very complex psyche, how is it that we're going to get along with each other, a bunch of individuals in a group? In the Aquarian age, it really is about just bringing the good force forward. And one day, you have business to do. And there's 6 of us sitting around the table. And we put something in the middle of the table. One person puts something in the middle of the table. And it just happened to be very useful for the day. And then somebody else just pulls something forward and it's useful for the day. And then 4 other people do the same thing. And next thing you know, you have a new idea to be implemented for a situation that demands it in a way that has never been offered before. Because this time, instead of us honoring a system telling us what to do, not giving one iota of the individual power, we end up with problems. We're taking the same procedure and applying it the same way to a different situation. Because the institution doesn't know how to deal with it, i.e. COVID. Okay, this is an example. So what do we do as individuals? Well, I don't know what I think about the COVID, if it's real or not real, but I'm still going to go to the grocery store gladly wearing my mask and hoping that everybody else does too, just in case it is real. Now, whether it's real or not, I don't know. But I kind of think it is. I think it's kind of a complex situation, obviously. But it's about getting through our day in the most positive way we can and just focusing on the essential, applying the individual creative energy in the most unique possible way that provides the best answer to a demanding situation of the moment. And when we do that collectively, we're going to get along a lot better than we did over the last 4,000 years. I promise you. Okay. I'm going to give you an example. This is pretty bold for me to say this, but with this Venus, Taurus, Scorpio, Uranus, Taurus aspect kind of going in there. What I feel is happening because Venus deals with personal resources and Scorpio deals with other people's resources. Um, what I kind of got out of that was that's very interesting. Cryptocurrency. The one way that cryptocurrency differs than paper currency is that paper currency is controlled by a higher institution, and it tells us what the value of the dollar is, or the value of the Deutschmark, or the value of the pound, or whatever it is. The value is determined by an institution. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, not so true anymore with Bitcoin. It might be, but I'm not sure. It's supposed to be self-governing. Well, if you read anything about cryptocurrency, it's dependent on blockchains. Bitcoin has exhausted their chain block capacity. So that now becomes, I feel, somewhat subjected to possible control by higher institutions or other institutions. But there are other cryptocurrencies that are emerging, that have emerged out of a community that has value expressed by other people, just amongst themselves. And as the community grows, so does the value of that cryptocurrency. Now, I don't want to get into particular cryptocurrencies because I don't want to be so bold as to say which cryptocurrency is going to be more successful than another. But the cryptocurrencies that perpetually creates blockchains without limits are the ones that could very well be the ones to move to the front eventually, 10, 15 years from now. But this is an example of possibly the stellium in November. It may be setting the stage for that. It's very, very possible. So, and this is just an example, anyways, of thinking outside of the box, of possibilities of what might happen. It is a conjecture. However, I do have an intuitive feel that this is probably something that's going to become a reality in about 10 years. So maybe consider investing in cryptocurrency. All right. So highlights for November. Another aspect is when I watched Colleen Lema's video for the month of November, and I would encourage you to look at that. So one of the cards that she pulled was an ant card. It was a power animal, the ant. I don't know about you, but if you ever watched ant trails in the sand or up your fence, they're all in one single file, and they're bringing a crumb of food up along the fence post, or going down the fence post, going over, and then they go down, and they go into the little ant hill, and they're feeding the colony. But they're working together in unison, in remarkable unison, in remarkable cooperation. And I like that ant symbology, because that's exactly what's going to happen. That's why I sort of feel like these ants are operating on some genetic material within themselves. They just know instinctively how to operate within a colony. It's all these genetic instructions. But we by shedding our victim consciousness. And what are the paradigms that are not working anymore? As we move to these Scorpio energies in November, we're left with something that's more true to our true selves in our ability to work with other people, to work with ourselves, to love other people, to have compassion without getting caught up in power struggles. So we're dealing with some aspects of power struggles in November that really is coming to a closure before we enter into the age of Aquarius, where we're learning to operate from this sense of center, not self-centeredness, with all this ego and clinging and fear that there isn't enough to go around, or, fear of losing your resources, but rather this passion for life, this ability to move one foot in front of the other, trusting more and more in our creative abilities to solve problems as they come up, and working it out with other people in this manner. And we, in essence, are embodying some of these characteristics of an ant in the ant colony. If we are all true to ourselves, maybe some of these universal laws that are within our DNA will come forward. Charles Darwin, felt that evolution was a result of competition between species. Well, to some degree, that's always going to be true because we can see that in nature. Hawk eats mice. Mice have to learn how to dodge and get away from hawk, or to keep itself out of view. So there's some element of competition. And believe me, if mouse was caught up in victim consciousness, what are we going to do? I mean, gone. That's it. Your meat for dinner. So, but there's a more important aspect of who we really are by nature, down to the real core of our indigenous DNA, is we are problem solvers, shakers, movers, creative, divinely guided, using each other by looking at our greatest qualities in each other and using that to help each other. That is more what we are and who we are at the very core of our essence. And then we move forward like this, being divinely inspired minute by minute, day by day, and watching others having the same inspirations, divinely guided, could bring about incredible experiences, a power beyond we've ever imagined before. So that is the opportunity that we have in front of us as we move through these issues that have been so challenging over the last few months. So, ant represents nurturing. How do we want to be nurtured? Do we want to be nurtured in cooperation with others? We're all equals. We all bring something different to the table, but the end result is we are more satisfied on a soul level. We feel nurtured mentally, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, and that we foster that in each other, to feel this nurturing and this ongoing nurturing. And that's nothing but empower us even more to do good things in our community. So, this nurturing is what we're looking at in our core. We're fed up with just answering the higher, the institutions. They have nothing to do with God. Do they? Just think about that. We can't even trust social media anymore. So we're wanting balance in all aspects of our lives. We want a real life when we're going to get one. Um, so some points were highlighted in the first week of November. Most significantly, the fact that dear Venus is playing an important role in Sun in Scorpio, with Pluto and Saturn doing their dance in the cosmic scene, having very important consequences for our day. This stellium hasn't occurred over 4,000 years. Think about it. It's a very big deal. I mean, when the Capricorn stellium was mentioned in January, I thought, maybe, maybe not. How important is it? But got the COVID, and it's worldwide, and man, has it really brought up some real questions. I mean, not only just about the virus, but the way we live, how we want to live, what's important to us, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a big deal. So the world is really changing in ways it hasn't in thousands of years. Um, so that's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave it there for the overall energy of November. So think about those power control issues that we might have on an individual level. Think about ourselves in relationship with other institutions that try to define our reality for us, that try to tell us how things actually are. It's not working anymore, and for a good reason. So let's embrace that. I mean, it's fearsome. We are going into uncharted areas. We're true warriors. This is what I want to say about why I'm wearing the earrings of Horus, the eyes of Horus. And if you look at my pendant, it's the goddess Isis. Now, I don't know if you guys study Egyptian mythology, but it's a big deal to me. I love Egyptian mythology. The goddess of Isis, the goddess of love is Isis, but so is Ma'at, and so is Hathor. And there are aspects of Isis, but Isis is like the queen goddess of love. And she's a kick-ass goddess, let me tell you. If you read on the mythology of Isis, she was the one that stole the magic from Ra, the sun god, who was the masculine energy. Her husband just got murdered by his brother, Seth. So Osiris was murdered by Seth. Isis was really upset. She wanted to bring him back to life. So she goes to Sun Ra and says, I want to heal my husband, bring him back to life. Ra didn't want to. So she basically tricked him. And I don't know, I forget the story about how she tricked her father into giving her the magic to resurrect her husband. In the process, she could only resurrect his soul. And in the process, managed to have sex with her husband, Osiris, and birthed her son, Horus, who now becomes a representation of the sun. And she mends her relationship with Ra. But what Ra was doing was he was keeping the spiritual essence from mankind. And really, what that basically meant was that humankind have no sense, no soul. They have no relationship with the underworld. They have no relationship with heaven. They have no relationship with God, basically. And Isis set it up where mankind, humankind, have a relationship with the divine source, the masculine source, the God essence source, all of that. The ability to go do journeys shamanically and retrieve soul parts when someone needs a healing. The ability to talk to the spirit of plants and get medicine to heal their loved ones. That's basically the magic of Isis. She bestows to humankind by stealing Ra's magic and bringing her husband, putting his pieces back together again, 14 pieces. Huge. And what this basically means is that we are now entering an era that we can have a deeper relationship with God, essence, all source, that we're now able to come to understand our other abilities, such as telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience. I know that mine is increasing. I've always been a little psychic all my life, but it's been increasing. And it's going to do that for all of us. And it might seem kind of scary. But remember that we were made in the image of God. And that got severed a little bit in this last 4,000 years. And to bring it back together again, there has to be the honoring of the feminine and the masculine. It has to be restored. The relationship with Isis and Osiris brought coming together, unifying their energies, brought forth the warrior, the cosmic warrior, Horus. And he had two eyes. And these two eyes, and the one is the intellect and the ability to reason. The other is your feelings. And so to reason with compassion, with every challenge, every day, is one moving one foot in front of the other, just doing it like that. And then these become very powerful instruments when they are together as one, in one view. So when we're seeing something based on fear, this is the November highlight of the energy. And we're going to have fear with some of this stuff we see. And it's okay. But if we can just kind of sit with it, breathe, find our center, nurture ourselves, take some time, get a bath, light a candle, meditate, breathe, connect to your source, your guardians, your angels, your spirit helpers, and pray to have a higher perspective. Then we're going to come through this. And we're going to see things in a different way that empowers us. I mean, a lot of us still have a lot of questions about the COVID. But the way we're dealing with it is very different than the way we've dealt with it from the beginning, right? We refused to lock ourselves and isolate ourselves. But yet we managed to interact with others gracefully, honoring the distancing, being practical about it. It's just an example. Finding ways to meet with our loved ones in nursing home. By God, if it means walking around the building and putting your face up to the window and looking at your mother or your father and saying, then that's what it takes. But by God, we're making contact. And that's huge. Okay, so this is what this is about. So there are things we might see and experience, and it's like, oh my God, that's scary. What the heck? And you're like, you know what I mean? Scared. And we might even get mad and pissed off and throw stuff. Okay, fine. But breathe. Find that place of your center. Because there's nothing more than your soul wants to do but to have that love come out. And that doesn't mean that love is always nice. But love is clear. Love is forgiving. Love solves problems. Love gets along. Even if we don't like something, somebody else, that's what we do. We as individuals can do so much more for each other than one institution or number of institutions. And what institutions we create in the future are going to be far different than what they've been for the last 4,000 years. There's nothing to do but to look forward to the Aquarian age, truly. So it really is about reconnecting to that essence within, that divine, that divinity, that magic is in all of us. Isis, the god, the goddess of love, intended for humankind to be able to have this connection to the source and to be able to learn how to use magic, but not like magic in the not like that, It's more in going within, loving ourselves, loving others, in spite of our shit, whatever it is, and embracing, solving problems, being together, celebrating life. You never know, we might come up with new ceremonies to honor rites of passage, a girl becoming a woman, a boy becoming a man, So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to move on to the reading. And so I've already smudged. I'm going to shuffle the cards. This is turning out to be a long reading, but that's okay, because it is an important month. See if I can do this in just 15 minutes. Okay. So for that, we want to know what we need to understand about the overall energy for November. Okay. I was just saying. Okay. Is that it? Yep, that's it. So let's cut the cards. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. All right. Whew. All right. So, all right, this is very interesting. Well, the first thing I saw is the outcome card. I've got all the cards laid out. I'll just pick up this. And you can see I've laid out all my cards. And on the outcome, I'm going to tell you right away what I see. This is the Queen of Swords. And I have a little prophecy. It's a close call. This election is going to be a close call. And what I do see is there's some information coming out about Biden that's going to be pretty concerning, I guess. And as a result, I think there's going to be some confusion around the election. I don't want to say a whole lot, because I think it's a very, very delicate subject. But there are some people that want to put Trump's head on the chopping block and go, you're done. But what's going to come out is just whatever the deal is with Trump. It's just going to be as equally disconcerting what we learn about Biden. It's really going to shift some perspective here. And I think Trump is going to be the president. I don't know. But that's sort of what I see, and it's going to be a close call. And then again, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to, it's not going to be as simple as it was in previous years, where we just kind of know who the president is after election. There's going to be some confusion. I mean, then people might think that Biden's got it, and then no, uh, Trump might have it. That's all I'm going to say with that. And I'm neutral. I've got issues about both sides. I'm not sure what to do just yet, and I have just another day to think about it. Okay, so um, the significator is who we are, how we are, and where we are right now. And it's the queen. Lots of feminine energy in this reading. Lots of feminine energy. So it's almost like the feminine in masculine taking action. Kind of interesting. It's very interesting. But a lot of us, we've got plans as the year comes to an end and we're coming to the new year. And December is going to be a lighter month. It's going to be a better month. It's going to be a little bit easier. We're not going to be so tired. But, we're going to have some more tired days in November as Mercury continues to pick up speed and moving direct. Okay. So, but a lot of us are pregnant with ideas and hopes and dreams, wanting to put new ideas into action. And we're just waiting for the right time. We're getting ready to move forward again. And just being patient. Being patient is very important this month. You're just going to have to wait for that right time. Okay. But when you do, it's going to be great. Okay. What the challenge is for this month of November is the Queen of Cups. It's going to be kind of hard for all of us, with the election, with personal stuff going on in our lives, challenging relationships, some miscommunications, delays in plans or communication, not getting that email that we're supposed to come through, and et cetera, et cetera. It's going to cause a lot of, discomfort. And then going inside and just kind of, mulling over it, and just kind of reflecting. I definitely feel some Scorpio influence, is that we may feel our fears internally. We might start there. But as we go along in the month of November, we might find ourselves sort of wanting to project and getting snippy and irritable and stingy like a scorpion. And, and we're just going to have to hang on for the ride and be patient and really just try to be mindful of what we're experiencing. So check in every day with your feelings and your emotions. Jot it down in a notebook. Go back to it later. So at least you can clarify your thoughts and what you want to say without reacting. And you may be able to do that more clearly and be heard and understood, and that certainly applies to me as well. At the basis of a situation of the priestess, but I've gotten this in so many readings in the last few weeks, that the priestess is really just kind of part of the energy over the last 6 months. It's a lot of reflection, introspection, weighing back and forth, not really ready to make a move because we want to be careful and cautious that we're coming from the right place, that we really do have all of our information together. And for most of us, we certainly have realized that by doing this, turning inward and spending some alone time and connecting with your divine guides has been very helpful, and will continue to be helpful, and even more potently so, because that's the other aspect of Scorpio. It's very spiritual and very into the mysticism, very secretive and magical. But it's all inside what we experience: visioning, telepathy, clairaudience, clairvoyance, having that aha, I never thought of that before. This might be the answer, not realizing that one of your ancestors may have whispered it in your ear. Um, in the past, the Princess of Cups, many of us have realized that coming through some of our challenges in relationships, challenges with our jobs, our careers, it hasn't been easy. And perhaps some of us have made mistakes, or we have come to understand some things about ourselves, to gain more clarity as it's about who we are, what we really want, at being the source of what's driving our behavior. And that maybe we could do this more thoughtfully, more consciously, and more honestly. Uh, it's not an easy task to do. Here we have the Tower card in reverse. This is interesting to me, to get the Tower card in reverse. This is in the position of the near future. So, indeed, it is about learning some things more about our politicians, our candidates for presidency. That it's not as simple as one side being the good guy and the other side being the bad guy. That both parties have vices. Both candidates have vices as well as virtues. And that it's just not going to be simple anymore. Even if we do go to the polls and we put in or cast our votes, we're still going to feel like maybe we didn't do the right thing. Or some of the things we may learn about candidates as we go along, it might be just so very unsettling. It's hard to know what decision to make. I mean, it really is. For me, it is. And a lot of stuff out there. And even the way the social media is portraying the candidates, the timing of it, of what being exposed, all of that, then it might not even become that anymore. It's really not even about the candidate. There's something behind the scenes that's going on, that's puppeteering this election process. And for some of us, it might even just piss us off royally, to the point of, what do you do? Which way do we go? Just who do I cast my vote for? And can we get one piece of honest information anymore? I have come to believe that this whole saga and drama of the stimulus package has become nothing more than a performance on stage. I mean, I could probably put money on it months ago that there's certainly going to be a decision on the package until after the election, or maybe right up to the election. But I mean, think about it. I'm just going to say, I really don't think there's a lot of people in the Congress that want to see Trump get to become president anymore, to be president, because he can't be manipulated, is simply the answer. He is not somebody you can manipulate easily. On the other hand, while Biden has some great ideas and someone to be admired, who's to say he isn't going to be puppeteered? So what do we do? I don't know. I certainly don't have the answer. But these are certainly going to be some of the questions that comes with what we see. Okay. So I don't know why, but I certainly get Trump. A lot of fire energy, um, a lot of action-oriented energy. It's not just about Trump, but really it's an overall energy. Knight of Wands, fire energy. So let's really be careful about no overreacting, getting upset about the election. There's some concern already by some individuals. There may be riots and demonstrations as a result of the election or around the election. Um, and I just don't want to see any trouble. You know what I mean? We really, really just have to. It's really about us people. It's not about we or them anymore. It's going away. You know, the Aquarian age absolutely demands that we depend on ourselves, depend on our own resources, rely on ourselves to solve problems. I mean, really, at this point, it doesn't matter who's president, I'll guarantee you. And I don't even want to debate about it because, I'm going to say you're right. And you're probably right. But what's most important is we need to shift out of that paradigm of this president is going to save us. That president is not going to save us. This, I mean, to some degree, it is kind of true. I mean, if one candidate is going to tax us so much more than the other candidate, I'm going to go towards the candidate that isn't going to tax me every year as much. Yes, that's true. But it's so complex now that I'm just worried that it's very easy to get caught in reactionary energy. While those things are true, we really need to be focused more in our immediate lives with each other, how we walk or talk. How do we live every day? As our environment, this is really interesting to get this as an environment card, but it's a card of satisfaction. So I'm not entirely sure what it's about. Well, what I get from this right away is don't be surprised. It's right up to the day before election. Um, Things get turned around about the stimulus package deal, and then all of a sudden it's a done deal. We're getting our $1,200 check. Boom, just like that. I don't know. I don't even know how it's possible at this point, but it's possible. Some good news. And you remember me saying something, and Colleen Lemma says it too, that there's a possibility of some sudden, unexpected event. This might be one of them. This $1,200 check might be flying through the mail in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. I don't know. So this is the Hermit card. I have spoken about the Hermit energy just a few minutes ago, talking about how important it is to take alone time and to get centered and to connect with your divine higher selves, your higher powers, your ancestors, your guides, your power animals. It's very important right now because this is where you're going to get your light. This is where you're going to be guided to get your information, whatever it is that you need to know. That's how we are going to be informed. Okay. Another aspect to this that I really feel is true, looking at the Hermit card, there's a lot of us that have, I really feel looking at this card, a lot of us have been very proud to be American. And I'm proud to be American. My father was a very special man. He was in the Army, Special Forces. He's done a lot for our family. I mean, he's, from the Midwest, exactly the icon of the working class, honorable American citizen, down to earth, good old country boy. I mean, I love my dad. And, he went through some experiences in life where he has questioned his government and questioned his way of life. But he's always come back to, I'm going to take care of my family. That's what's important. Put food on the table. Take care of my wife. Take care of my kids. Just do whatever it takes to keep everybody good, And that's all we can do. We are being challenged to the core. And maybe some of the stuff that we have to look at is not so nice. It's okay. I mean, just remember, any shit that we find inside of here doesn't belong to us. They may belong to our parents. They may belong to your grandparents. They belong to our forefathers. And then when you look at that, it really doesn't even belong to them. You just give it back to the source. And love yourself and move on. Do better, move on. That's all we can do. Okay. So, and the outcome. It's very interesting to get this card as the outcome. Especially when it's a female energy that's cutting the head of a male figure. And she's in this position of the divine. She is divine feminine. But I'm going to say, that's the energy that's been driving us for the last 6 months. It is a very subtle and strong feminine energy. It's been on the rise. It will continue to be on the rise. It's an essential part of the Aquarian age. And it's going to clarify and re-clarify and refine the masculine energy so they work more harmoniously. But in the process, it might mean some purging of old male-driven paradigms and anything that represents that. So I'll leave you with that. If you have liked this reading, please press like and subscribe. If you want to share any comments with me, I will gladly read it and answer any questions you might have. I would really appreciate you leaving any comments. If you have a desire to get a reading, you can go to my website at www.theweaverstarot.com. I'm also on Facebook, and it's the same title, The Cosmic Weaver Consulting. And check out my site there as well. And leave any comments or questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you have any suggestions, I would appreciate that too. Y'all have a good month, and thank you so much. Namaste.